Welcome back to Wedding Capture Co, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers, and with myself, Tom, and my co-host, Chris. Today is our first episode in a while, so we are having a mega catch-up, and we cover both of our holidays, the things that have been on our minds over the last few weeks, and pretty much everything in between. There is, 6 weeks of stuff to get through, so a lot to cover in this episode. And then at the end, we also talk about the Wedding CoActive Christmas party, which is a really cool Christmas party, which is coming up for wedding suppliers. And we'll drop the link for that in the description below.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. It has been a very long time since we last recorded. We've missed a week as well. So
I feel like we could almost call it a hiatus rather than a break in the end. It's been pretty much 6 weeks since we've been sat here, which is insane.
It's crazy.
Really, yeah.
We were determined not to take a break and do the whole, we're too busy during the summer, we can't do anything, which is why we release every 2 weeks. But even that's been difficult over the last few weeks.
We just end up having some really badly timed holidays. That's what it comes down to, I think.
We both had holidays. We've both been very busy, and then we both got ill. So that's why it's been so late. But so it is still pretty consistent in terms of what we're releasing, but we have missed a couple of a week or so. And
I think as well, now we've had that long gap as well, it gives us plenty to catch up on in this episode. So this is us pretty much sitting down to catch up with each other, as well as you catching up with all the things that have happened in the last 6 weeks to us. Yeah,
exactly. Some of it's going to be wedding related, but really it's just like the fact that we wanted this to be just a conversational sort of podcast. We're obviously going to have episodes where like me and Tom haven't spoken properly in like a long time, so it's just nice to have a chat about what we've been up to.
To catch up. I'm really excited to hear about all your adventures that you've had as well over this time, because you've been on 2 holidays since we spoke. In that 6 weeks you've been away twice, haven't you? So,
yes. And
I haven't heard a thing about it, so I'm very excited to hear about what you got up to then. And I think it's come at a really nice time of the season as well, because neither of us have finished our seasons yet, but we're definitely on the wind down from a busy summers, and so hopefully a lot of you guys are in a similar position as well, and kind of maybe have had to take some time for some breaks or readying yourself for those those last few weddings of the year and stuff
or
like
sitting at home looking at your editing queue like it's gonna be a long winter, which is me basically. But the season's coming to an end. I've only got 3 weddings left for the year, which is perfect for me. Like Kate's like, oh, why don't you take a few more winter? I'm like, I don't want any more winter weddings. I've done enough summer weddings. Like,
you think we had that insane July. We had pretty much a wedding every other day through the summer. So I think, other than that, having that is a good place to be. Is looking back at what you've got on or what you've done to go, no, I've had enough. Rather than going, oh, I could have some more, and then get into kind of the real depths of the winter and not feel that you have any kind of time to plan for next year or recover because you've taken on kind of something to stop a gap. Where
the benefit of our job is, or one of the negatives of our job is, it's all crammed into the summer. So the benefit is then you get winter to kind of like regroup and like sort of rebuild that energy ready for the summer again. If the people that shoot so many weddings in the winter don't get that, and it's just like a continuous thing. I feel like you need a bit of time to be like, right, where am I going to take my business next year? What have I done wrong? What have I done well? Plan stuff. And
I feel really ready for that as well. Like I was chatting to a couple the other day for like kind of a new client, and they were going, and they cited a couple of photos on my website that they'd seen that they really liked, and then once I was like, they're quite updated, like February last year. And then I look back now that my favourite images, that my favourite images that I want to use to market with, and I think none of them are on my website because they're all stuff that's been taken probably in kind of, the early parts or in the summer of this year, and my work really has moved on, and that's really what I want to kind of sell with. But I'm not selling with it because I haven't had a chance to go back and, revamp the portfolio and stuff like that. So I want to get through my editing part. I'm ready to wrap the year up and kind of sow those seeds and kind of, realign that direction, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because I think I'm not sure what it was the first or second episode, I think you said the same thing about like taking a look at your sort of portfolio photos and realising that actually like there's better ones or newer ones. It
probably was in that ready yourself for the 2023 year. And it seems mad that we've been podcasting that long now that pretty much a whole season's happened in the mid time. So I feel really happy with what I've done, but I'm ready to kind of, or knowing that there's really good stuff on my editing pile as well that I want to get to and kind of get that back to the couple, and also for me to dig into it and look at it and use that for going forward. Yeah, definitely. My editing pile was looking absolutely nuts, to be quite honest with you. And part of it comes down to the holidays, I won't lie, but it just happened to fall the way it did. It was my 30th this year, so beginning of October we went to Dubai, which was bloody lovely. So we had that planned for like maybe a year and a half. We've been having that planned for, and then
long story short, back in 2020, I was supposed to be having my stag do in Vegas with a few friends, and a week before we were due to fly, that's when they closed the US because of the COVID stuff. So like, obviously we're all devastated. Like I was absolutely gutted. Like, oh, like why has this happened to me? Like not knowing how big COVID was going to be. And then we all sort of said like, one day we'll do it. One of those things you say and then you don't know if it's going to happen. Yeah. And then a couple of my friends, they were traveling in the States, and they were like, or they had planned to travel in the States to California and everything. And they were like, do you want to do Vegas and like mix it in with our trip sort of thing? So we were like, yeah, let's do it. So then Vegas ended up happening 2 weeks before Dubai.
Wow.
So I ended up having 2 quite big holidays in a short space of time.
But I think in some ways, if you say the flip, like, yes, like your editing has suffered.
Yeah.
But it's definitely still sat there waiting for you when you come back.
Yeah.
And to have those, your friends happen to be out there and those opportunities lined up, to be able to have the freedom to go, yes, I can fit this in and kind of juggle it around, I think is one that is a really good thing about this job, or having the benefit of doing that. And also, if you worked a conventional job, you still would have turned 30 and probably would have forecasted to take some time off for that, and you can't put your own life on hold and miss those big kind of milestones in your life. Like, exactly. I definitely know that I've missed my share of family stuff just in general this summer, kind of, nephews' parties, odd family gatherings and things like that, because you've got a wedding. So when kind of those big milestones in your own life come up, I'm sure that all of your couples would forgive you kind of, a few days on an edit just so that you can go and enjoy your 30th birthday. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like over the summer, we really feel like the worst parts of being self-employed. Like for me, I missed 2 of my best friends' 30th parties because I had weddings booked. So you miss those things like as often people do at weekends, and you have a really busy summer when everyone else is out enjoying themselves. So like for me, I'm like, I'm going to make the most of being self-employed. I can take holiday when I want to take holiday and do what I want, and that's when it comes to So
and it is a downside. I missed. I remember Kate messaging me saying about before you were off to Dubai that you were going to have some drinks for your birthday, and I opened the diary and had a booking. So I was out shooting a wedding when I could have been, sat enjoying cocktails with you celebrating your birthday, which I'd love to have done. But that's, again, it's a peril of the job, isn't it?
Yeah. So enjoy the positives. And I mean, both the holidays were incredible. Like, it was lovely to get away from everything after having a really busy summer and had a really busy July, and then August just sort of like was sort of plodding along, mainly just trying to recover from that. And then September's when we went to Vegas. Vegas is a lovely place, by the way. It's
Was it your first time?
Yeah, it was my first time. Have you been?
I've never been. No, it's on the list. It's the only time I'd like to go.
I feel like this is something that like goes across a lot of holidays I've been on. To be fair, is just don't listen to people when they tell you about it, because I know that when I was going to Vegas, I was like, oh yeah, I'm telling people I'm going to Vegas and whatever, and they're like, oh, it's going to be crazy out there. Like, I was like, I'm going for 8 days, and they're like, no, you shouldn't go for 8 days. You're going to be wrecked and all this lot.
Yeah.
But none of us are real big drinkers, or like we went there basically for an adventure holiday. Like, we had lots of stuff planned and like excursions, and we did desert dune buggy and went to the Grand Canyon, all of that, because that's the kind of people we are. But everyone paints Vegas as like, if you're just going to be partying every night, getting on it, sleeping during the day, going gambling thousands of pounds, whatever. But actually, there's so much more to it. Like, it's an incredible vibe. There's families, there's couples, there's people like we were just there to explore, and everyone's just like, just the atmosphere is so good because everyone goes there for like a really nice getaway sort of thing, and I feel like it's not what people painted Vegas to be like at all for me.
I think obviously everyone as well has, and I did the same when I went to New York in May. As people, we went there for 6 nights. Everyone's like, oh no, you do a long weekend in New York. It's it never sleeps. Get in, like do it hard and go home again.
Yeah.
And we were non-stop while we were there, but I saw everything I wanted to see and came home rested. And I think a lot of people are really kind of quick to impress, aren't they? If they're kind of 24-hour party people and want to never not have a cocktail in their hand or be sat at a slot machine. And Vegas, that's their Vegas, where for you it's going to see the Grand Canyon and dune buggying through the desert. You had an equally as nice time and saw the other side of the city that they're probably too hungover or too poor to do because they've drunk and gambled it away.
And we gambled and we had a drink, and I feel like the bars weren't what I was expecting. I sort of thought it was going to be like the height of nightlife there, and it ended up not being so much, in my opinion anyway. Like, it didn't really appeal to me what was there. So we ended up just going up and down the strip at night. We'd literally go to Walgreens, get like a drink from like an alcoholic drink from Walgreens, walk up and down the strip, and just take in the atmosphere, because the atmosphere is incredible. Like there's always something going on. And it was Mexican Independence Day as well, so it was really busy, and they had different
nice.
little mariachi bands or whatever playing in different places, and loads of crowds of people gathered around them. It was really fun, yeah.
But do you feel rested though now you've come back? Obviously, I know you got ill,
no,
but you feel that you don't feel that you needed.
Both days were intense. Like for Vegas, we had something planned every single day, and we'd literally get up early, we'd go out, and we would not stop until like 11 p.m, midnight, maybe even after that.
Wow.
Every single day. So it was intense, and then got back, had 2 weeks to get my affairs in order for the next one, Dubai, which was also pretty intense, because we again had something planned we were only there for 5 days, so we sort of filled it out. And afterwards I said to Kate, like, these 2 holidays have been, this is proper I said to my mum, I think these 2 holidays have been really like intense, and I feel like I need to like take a couple of days off. Yeah. And she was like, you've been on holiday, what are you talking about? Like, she was like, you're proper first world problems, and I guess it is, but at the end of the day, like, they weren't relaxing holidays.
But I think it depends what you reason as in the end as a holiday, where it sounds like from what you've said is that I would call those a trip or an adventure rather than a holiday.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you went to Turkey in the summer,
that was a holiday.
Where you read a book and laid on a lounger. Yeah. That's a holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where to go and be, like, say, be kind of like dune buggying and climbing and doing this and exploring and stuff. Yeah. You're probably doing more steps and expending more energy than you would do.
I did so many steps
if you were sat at your desk editing.
Yeah, my phone is literally alerting me daily now, like, you're not doing as many steps as you have for the last month, and I'm like, I wonder why, because I was bloody walking around Vegas all the time. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and then had 2 weeks to like get everything sorted, and that was an intense 2 weeks, because it's like suddenly clients are realizing that the tracker hasn't moved in a while, and even though I've got on there saying I'll be on holiday and the tracker's not moving, they're still messaging me like, just wondering why the tracker's not moving. It's like, yeah, I've been on holiday, I'll be like getting back to it, but then I have to explain that I'm going on holiday again.
And it's hard, isn't it? Obviously, when you've got people that are waiting for their films, and they kind of only see that element of, I want my film when it's not there. But then
most people are really good, and we keep them updated and everything, but sometimes I think it's a bit like they're looking at it like, oh, I don't know what's going on here, sort of thing, and we have to sort of explain. But then, so we went to Dubai, and at the same time you had a last minute trip to
I did
Disney.
A very, very last minute trip to Disney. Yeah, I ended up going. We're going both at the same time in January.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. Like, we had some kind of family stuff going on, which was kind of a little bit much. And so I noticed I had a week in my diary that I could take.
There's valuable weeks.
Just a week. It was going to be an editing week. It was going to be an admin week. And I was like, well, do you know what? I think we do need to just kind of, for me personally, we do just need to get away, but put some distance between us and the UK, and just kind of have some time away, just to kind of reflect on what's happened, sort ourselves out, and kind of change the conversation. And in that respect, it was great. Like, we went to Florida for 5 days. We did 2 park days, and the other 3 days we literally did sit by the pool.
Nice.
And just kind of wander. And although the 5 days went by really, really quickly, I do feel that when we arrived back in England, it felt like we'd been away for longer than 5 days.
Oh, really?
And it was a really nice distraction. So, it was good.
Oh, that's good. So it's worth it then.
Definitely worth it. And also, I think I'm not somebody normally which is that spontaneous.
Yeah, no.
To be able to literally book a holiday and then go, shit.
You literally messaged me.
16 days time.
Yeah.
We're going away. And it seemed unreal to me. I've never booked anything that quick in all of my life.
Yeah.
Like 6 days to literally book something, and then by the time that a full month from it comes round, I've booked for it, paid for it, been on it, and been back a week.
Yeah. And it's quite a short amount of time as well for like so far away, I think, anyway.
Lots of people said that to me. They were like, you're going to Florida for 5 days.
Yeah.
But then I kind of doubted myself in the end, and was like, well, it's my favourite place in this entire planet. It's where I love to be.
Yeah.
I go at least yearly.
Yeah.
And we weren't going to go this year because we're going in January. So to be able to go just for 5 days and do that was brilliant. But also I kind of feel like, I went to New York for 6 days. The flight's pretty much the same time. The time difference is the same.
Yeah.
But when you go to New York, everyone's like, oh no, you shouldn't go for a long weekend.
Yeah.
But if I go literally like just down the coast to Florida.
It's because of where it is. Everyone expects that you're going to go there and do all the parks because
do a full on holiday. Yeah, but then when you
go
go as often as we do,
you don't need to do every single thing
because it doesn't change that much. Like, fair enough, we rode some of the new stuff that wasn't there when we went last time, but it was nice. It's just somewhere that, again, it was nice to go somewhere which is really happy, but also feels really familiar. So like, I kind of felt like I slipped into the routine of that really quickly. Like that urge to kind of go, oh, this is all new. I want to get out and explore all the time. wasn't so much there.
I feel like that's probably why it felt like you've been there for longer, because you already see it as like a place where you know and you've been to for a long period of time over.
Which
the course
was a deliberate reason as to why that we went there, because we knew.
Well, that's your happy place, isn't it?
Exactly that. Pretty much exactly that. And some ways that we could slip into and know exactly what we were going to get, exactly kind of how it was going to roll.
Yeah.
And that was what we both needed. Was really, really good.
And sometimes that familiarity on holiday is actually quite good. There's a hotel in Crete that me and Kate have been back to a couple of times, just because like we know exactly what we're getting when we go there, all the food, the restaurants, how the drinks work and everything like that. And just sometimes that's quite nice just to go somewhere and just be like, I know it's going to be
and when you're blessed, with us, with our jobs and the way that we do things, it's like, when we went to New York, we had our adventure. Like I went and did the destination in Malta this summer. So I've done my share of going to new places and exploring new things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is nice just to kind of pull on that old pair of slippers, as it were.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And know that that's exactly what you're going to get. And even though that week obviously was a valuable editing week that I probably needed to spend in front of my desk, I don't regret going in the slightest.
Yeah.
I feel that now I've come back, I feel like I'm actually really readied to kind of get back to my desk and get through those jobs that I've got on the editing pile.
Yeah.
Where I think if kind of everything that was going on before I left, if I'd have just kind of tried to pull myself together and battle my way through it, I would have had a lot of unproductive days, or a lot of days where I was turning up to my desk really half-heartedly and being like, I just need to get this done, and not gone into it with the same levels of enthusiasm or kind of pace that I would have done by just taking a few days away to recover and then coming back at it.
It's the same amount of work is getting done, and that's like, this is quite important. It is sometimes you do need to take yourself away to make sure you're doing the full amount, basically, because like you said, I reckon then if you'd have stayed and carried on doing it, you'd be working at the same pace still.
Almost definitely. I probably would have felt a damn sight worse by not being any further through my editing pile than I would have done by taking essentially 5 days off, and 2 of them were a weekend, so they're days that I could have been shooting anyway. So in kind of terms of desk days, I only really lost like 3 or 4 days. So it's definitely worth it.
You took your Leica out there, didn't you, as well?
I did, yes. The Leica went with me, which is the first. I was sceptical when I first packed it and was like, do I potentially take it to a theme park with me?
Yeah.
But then it was really nice actually to kind of, like, again, somewhere I've been before, so I don't feel that need to, like, oh, here's a ride, I'm going to do this. Kind of see it and kind of appreciate it and kind of use a little bit of time to take a little bit of kind of personal work. And there's so much colour and so much kind of theatre over there to kind of just take some kind of stuff, some nice photos of kind of the places that we went. Like when we got the boat across the lagoon, like, I'll take some photos. And it also, I found it really quite therapeutic to almost be taking photos there.
And because it's more of the Leica's more of an experience camera, isn't it? So you don't have to, like, it's not like you're taking a Sony out there.
Exactly that. And I found, like, on my park days, I didn't take it to the theme park with me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to chuck it in the footwell of Thunder Mountain in case I kick it. But on the days that we were just kind of strolling around resorts or going for a wander on the beach or whatever, it came with me. And I think now when we go back in January, I think it's definitely going to come again. And it's nice to kind of have, again, kind of put some importance over somewhere that I love so much and be able to capture that in that way.
It's just because for us, like most of us who do this job, like started because we love just taking photos of random things, right? And then you stop doing it because you do it for a job. But like taking something out on holiday or on a trip is quite nice, because then then you can put a bit more importance on it than just getting your phone out and quickly.
Exactly that. I think because I took the Leica with me, it's almost that intention was there. Like on the days that I took it without, for a wander or when we were going out for the day, I was, I've got it with me. So there was kind of like, I could take this. And there was, the intention was there, but without the pressure of like, kind of, I have to take photos. But because I wanted to, I had it with me and kind of shot quite intentionally with it, where it wasn't just kind of like, I'm going to carry it everywhere and see what happens. Because in those moments, I find that I reach for my phone even more because it's just convenient. So if you see something quick, you just can't snap that your phone's always much more readily available than rooting in my bag, get my Leica out, take a lens cap off and do 100%. That. So I kind of find that you use it in different ways, but the kind of the want to use it was there, and it still never felt like work, which it would have been if I took the Sony with me.
And if you've got the time to be intentional as well, then it's worth, like, because you've been out there before and you sort of know what to expect, you can be intentional without thinking, oh, I need to go and frame this up and whatever, because you know what roughly what you're going to see when you're going.
Like.
So I feel like that's bringing a camera along sort of lends itself to that. Whereas
I'm going to let Ed out the garden. It's warm enough. Who thought we would have a sunny day in October that he wants to lay in the garden?
Film 30 rainy summer weddings, and then we do a podcast on a random October day and it's sunny.
How mad. I got wet in July and now my dog wants to sunbathe in October.
But
There we
Good
go.
times. Yeah, so...
But you found, I'm reading from the notes here, though, that you found maybe a slightly opposite experience.
Yeah, so
whilst you're away.
I have the Fuji X100V, and that's my like personal camera that it basically sits and gathers dust unless I'm on holiday. And I've had that once, sold it to get something which is a bit better for like professional work, because I thought it didn't get used enough, and I got it back because it's an experienced camera. Like,
yes, definitely.
It feels better just using that on holiday than taking a Sony out with me, right? But I found I didn't end up using the Fuji a lot, and I ended up I've got the iPhone 14 Pro. I just ended up taking raw photos on this phone and getting back and editing them and thinking, Jesus, like, and some photos, I sort of put all my Fuji photos that I'd edited with the same preset as I'd edited the iPhone ones with, and put them all together. And sometimes I was looking at them like...
You're struggling to tell the difference.
I couldn't tell the difference, yeah. And obviously the experience is different, and once you get into low light, it's a little bit different. The Fuji's not great in low light anyway, but I found... For Vegas, I knew I wasn't going to use it much because I was with friends, and I feel like no one else, if I'm going on holiday, I'm the one taking them with friends. I'm the one taking the most photos.
Especially when you've got friends that aren't photographers as well, and they're kind of that onus of he's stopping to take a photo is not the same if you're in good
We'll
company.
get to the Grand Canyon, they'll take their phone out, they'll take a snap, and they're done. Whereas I've got my action camera out, my phone out, my Fuji out. I'm taking loads of different, like making sure I get every single area captured and whatever. So I knew I wasn't going to use it a lot in Vegas, but I just ended up using my phone so much more. And because I take a lot of value on me being in the photo, or when we're on holiday, me and Kate being in the photo, it was much better giving someone else my phone to take a photo of, because every time, without fail, that I've given someone a Fuji, it's come back out of focus.
Yeah, because
I like tap to focus and then press the thing, and they just don't get it. Whereas if you give someone your iPhone, they're going to instantly know how to use it, because every single person has used the camera like an iPhone.
And I think as well, like, if you look back to kind of the episode that we did on our camera journeys, that was probably a couple of episodes ago now, 2 or 3 episodes ago. Like, as much as those cameras have come a long way, people don't use cameras in the same way. Like Joe Public don't use the cameras the same. So they expect to be handed a phone, and phones have come so much further now that, like you said yourself, the gap is less. And so I think it stands to reason sometimes that it's just easier to give somebody a phone. You know that you stand a better chance of getting something usable back, rather than you've got this lovely like 24 megapixel full frame shot, but you're blurry because they've just tapped on the background or whatever, because that's or they don't have to focus it with the phone.
Portrait mode phone shot. That people look at and they're like, wow, this looks really professional. It's like, it's my phone, mate. But and then Kate's got the new iPhone 15 Pro. So for Dubai, when we went there, we ended up using that quite a lot, because they've got the new thing where you can zoom into, you can set the default lens, like the main sensor, to a 28mm, a 24mm, or a 35mm. So you can set it to 35mm by default, and obviously it's like, by definition, a digital zoom. But because it's taken the 48 megapixels from sensor, downscaling it to 12, and then it's taking 48 megapixel photo, a 12 megapixel photo, and then joining up to 24. So you don't notice a difference in that digital zoom pretty much at all. And where it's 35mm, it's so much better for me, because I think one of the telltale signs of an iPhone photo is it's like a picture of 2 people together on 24mm. There's so much random stuff, fluff in
there's that almost that kind of like standard wide angle distortion as well. You know that it's come from a phone.
So we just put her iPhone, in 35mm, and for like, we went up to this place called Aura Sky Pool, which is basically like an infinity pool on the 50th floor of this hotel. Most incredible thing, best thing we've done there, definitely. And it was just so relaxing and chilled. You're there for 4 hours, a chill music playing, you're having cocktails, really bougie.
Sounds horrible. Sounds absolutely horrible.
Disgusting. A view of like the palm and that, it was so cool. But again, like, even though I could have easily got my Fuji out and taken photos of the views, didn't bother, because I just literally got Kate's phone out, 35mm. It takes, in the non-RAW mode, it takes a photo like normal, and then it takes the portrait mode data. So if you want to change it into portrait mode, you can do that afterwards.
So almost like it's in the file that you can change it.
Whereas you used to have to choose, like, select portrait mode, and then they didn't have the same processing in portrait mode, so the quality would be worse in portrait mode as well. But now it's just all the same. So you literally can get it out, take the photo, and then you can do what you want with it afterwards, essentially. So I didn't end up getting the Fuji out until it turned to nighttime, at which point I'd be like, because I don't think iPhones take very good photos of like things like cityscapes and stuff at night time. I end up getting the Fuji out then, and even then I look back and I'm like, they're not that great, because
Yeah,
the low
'cause
light
it's
on
still
them is not
limited.
good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I ended up getting home and just being like, I've now been on 2 of the biggest, trips I've been on in recent years, and just not really bothered using it that much, and sort of.
I think some as well. Like, it's like a portability thing as well. Like I was saying with the Leica, because I enjoy using it so much, and I don't use it for work. I still kind of get that novelty of like, I'm going to take it out and take some photos of where I am. But I say my theme park days are other days. It's so easy. Your phone is naturally about your person, and it's like there's got to be a real trade off in the end to have a reason to pull that phone out, to pull the camera out rather, and use it. And if you're not getting that, and also kind of maybe from a vanity point of view is. We have lots of art on the walls in our house, but we don't have lots of photos, and definitely not photos of each other. So if I was to take my camera out and take like a skate photo of the Grand Canyon, there's every chance that I might actually print that. But if it's just a photo of me stood by it, the memory for me is in the photo. It lives in my camera roll, it lives on my computer or whatever. I can go back and look at that at any point. I don't particularly need that to be a high quality kind of full frame photo, because the memory is the content of the photo rather than the quality of the photo. Where if I was going to go, I'm going to print this lovely picture that I took of the Grand Canyon, I would need it to be a degree of quality, or have room to edit it in a way that kind of so that I would want to display it.
It's funny you should say that after what we were talking about off camera before this about content creators at weddings. You're literally saying that memory doesn't need to be like fully highly polished and everything. And
I think it's true though. I don't think it does. It's funny. So we had a massive conversation, and we can dip into this, but I think there's probably a full episode, more than a full episode in it alone.
Yeah, there's definitely.
Is obviously we are at the end of the year starting to look at bookings for next year and starting to hear ripples of stuff, and that kind of subject around content creators is definitely something which is going to come up. I'm still yet to work with one, but I'm almost 100% sure that next year, by the time that we sit in these seats, that we will have done probably multiple weddings where we've worked alongside content creators. And we were kind of talking about it of, kind of finding out how they work and what they actually deliver, and that idea of having kind of lots of kind of candid behind the scene moments that immediately, and not only in photo but and in video from the same person. And I kind of theorised from the end of our from our conversation, didn't I, that maybe that almost we're a victim of it, because now that photographers take on more editing times creep out, people want that kind of immediacy, but then at the same time they're not fussed, like we've just said, about that candid moment of just laying over their friends while they're drunk. They don't need that taken on my Sony camera.
Don't wait 3 months.
They just want the photo because that was the funny bit from then. So that almost could our jobs become a point where we are being brought in pretty much for groups and portraits and the stuff that kind of photographers that the photographers like our parents had almost brought in for those big moments, the kind of the important things that you need someone of skill for, and then the content creator will be there doing all
just
the
the candid stuff. That's what we were saying, isn't it? That photography might end up going back to you hire your photographer to get your ready setup stuff, and then you hire your content creator. Which,
if you'd probably asked me last week or a couple of weeks ago, I'd go, well, you need this and it's really important.
Yeah.
But then in the conversations that we literally just had whilst talking about that and then talking about our holidays, is we've just defined that, kind of the stuff of us in it, or even those kind of more candid bits.
100%.
I'm quite happy just to take it on my phone.
Yeah. I think I watched a YouTube video once that changes my whole perspective on holiday photos, because I used to take my Sony and a 24-70, and I used to stop at places and just really try to frame up the shot and everything like that. And then I sort of realised that I'm not going to do anything with them anyway, for a start. But also, so many people, photographers, non-photographers, whatever, have gone to that location. It's probably quite a touristy location, somewhere in Iceland, a waterfall in Iceland or whatever, and got that exact same photo that I'm getting. So why am I doing that when I could set up the camera and get a photo of me and Kate, or just give someone a phone, which is much more valuable to me and Kate than a photo of just the waterfall on its own. And
I find that, and again, that was exactly the reason that I didn't take my camera into the park days with me.
Yeah,
it's I thought when I was stood there at that moment, you walk down Main Street and the castle's in front of you, and I kind of have that. I wonder how many photos of that castle are going to be taken today.
Yeah,
alone.
True,
just today.
Yeah.
Not let alone since it was built.
On your iPhone on 24mm, loads of heads in the way.
Yeah, and that's been taken. Time and time again.
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing it. I'm not offering anything original. I could have brought my kit all over, set my tripod. It's been ages trying to take this most perfect photo, and it's still going to be probably hundreds of people out there that have gone to that same effort that I had.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's in the end, you're going to hamper your own enjoyment of that moment.
Yeah.
Especially when you're kind of content creating for yourself on holiday.
Yeah,
you're not there, in the same way. You're not if you hired someone to follow you around and.
Oh, that'd be cool though, wouldn't it?
I do think there could be a market for this. You know, I thought like I spoke to someone, and I don't know when it was. Might be when I was in Malta, and I was thinking like, how cool would it be just to be like a destination photographer, not a wedding photographer?
Yeah.
Like imagine a family approached you. It's like, I want you to come on 10 days holiday with us.
Yeah, like we're staying in this villa. We're going to be doing lots of activities in different places.
So that we don't have to carry our phones, we don't have to carry anything. We just want you to come and just document our whole holiday.
Oh, this really annoyed me actually. I did a excursion in Dubai, the standard one where you go to like the desert and do sandboarding and like with the quad biking and stuff like that, and then you go to like a show at the end where it's like they do fire breathers and belly dancers and stuff like that with a barbecue. That is it's a really popular thing in Dubai. The whole desert is full of these little camps that do the thing, and the reviews, I don't like reviews. I think they're really sketchy sometimes. The reviews are all quite like, it's 5-star, but they're all quite, they didn't really offer much, right?
Yeah.
But most of the 5-star reviews said the tour guide is great at taking photos, which for me is quite cool because, again, like I want a photo of me and Kate somewhere. And some tour guides, so we did a jet ski experience there. Definitely not trying to flex it, but it just feels like I'm just listing off all this stuff.
But again, when you're there, you want to make sure you make the most of
but the tour guide on a jet ski, no lie, he just had his iPhone and he's holding it up against the water and he's getting these shots of us, and they were so good. And afterwards, he just airdropped them to us, and like he was risking his phone. I heard him talking to someone else after the experience, and he said that he recently dropped his iPhone into the water and just completely lost it, and he had to buy a new one. He risks his phone to get the good photos of us, and he was really good. This tour guide in the desert, oh my God, he took some of the worst photos. he got me stood on this hill, right? Like a sort of sand dune, put it into the ultra wide mode, and then got right up sort of near me, super low, right? Bear in mind I'm a tall guy anyway. My legs are 3 times the size of the rest of my body. And then these guys were standing behind and looking at the photos like, oh mate, they're so good. And I got them back and I was like, what is this? I'm stretched.
You like the Jolly Green Giant in the desert.
So stupid. And I was fuming when I got them back because I was like, oh no, everyone's got these nice photos that I've seen in the desert, and he's taken these like these spaghetti.
And the guy that was stood behind him going, they're so sick, is the guy that wrote the review that was going, this time let's take 6 photos.
Oh yes, that annoys me. But that's, I mean, it's not their job, so fair play. But
don't you think though? But then obviously the guy with the jet ski is a prime example where over time now people obviously have given him feedback, or he knows what people want to see from those photos, and so that he's realised that it's if you get close to the water you get the cool reflection, you get a cool angle.
I mean he takes the same photos of every like jet ski, because I've seen the ones on TripAdvisor.
But that's it though, isn't it? But it's that like 10,000 hours thing, isn't it? If you took the same photos of 10 people in a day, 7 days a week, but law of averages, by the time you've been doing that for a couple of months, you'll be pretty damn good at it, because you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Me and Kate and jet ski in front of Atlantis, same one as every single other person got who's doing that jet. But I love them. They're such a cool photo.
But you can liken that to a wedding, can't you? Where you've been to a wedding and then gone, well that bit works really well, so I'll lean into that and do that angle slightly more. And not saying that you give people the same photos, but you learn kind of the tips and tricks, don't you, to make your life, or to get the most out of people. And like you can argue the same, you on your jet ski in front of the Atlantis is the same as someone in their finery in front of their wedding venue. It's that kind of, like, you also know I don't want to flex, but that's their flex moment. It's their wedding day, isn't it? And it's kind of, it's that same thing, isn't it, of kind of getting the best out of something and 100%. How you kind of perceive the value in it.
But yeah, if you're listening and you're thinking, I need a camera for holiday, I honestly think the iPhone 15 Pro and an action camera is a good combo. Get the iPhone, take lots of photos on it. It has loads of different focal lengths and stuff. I use an action camera for like things like selfies, because again, important that we're in the shot, and for like a lot of water stuff, because when you go on a trip, generally there's like a water park, or like went to the Atlantis water park, took an action camera along for like the rapids and stuff like that. It was just like, I think that's a perfect combo.
Especially now, although I didn't realise that the 15 particularly now, to have the scope that it does, so to shoot the raw, to merge files and stuff. So a new phone's probably like £1,500 to buy. The Fuji V now is going to cost you pretty much that. But you use your phone every day. So in terms of investment of what you can achieve back on the other end, it's a pretty new phone's really expensive. But if you liken it that it's it is, you know, that content creation tool as well as, you know, your lifeline to the world, your social media access.
Yeah, it's a memory making
in terms
tool,
of the value that you get out of that phone.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most sound things that you spend your money on.
Even if you don't go abroad and do a lot of stuff like that, even if you've just got kids and you want to like take good video and photo of them and make it be a little bit more timeless, so that in 10 years you're not looking at like, what is this potato I've been filming on, sort of thing. Like even stuff like that. But coming back to the content creator and like the more candid sort of work that we were talking about, I have put in my notes that I want to talk about the Instagram versus candid.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you've addressed this before on your Instagram, and
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I had like a little rant and got a little soapbox about it just before I went away on holiday.
And I talked to a lot of photographers about it because it frustrates me so much, because I feel like my style and the way we actually deliver films to couples doesn't gel with Instagram. So when we post on Instagram, it's generally a little bit more set up, a little bit of the more flashy stuff. But when we give it to couples, it's more like here's, you know, a 10-minute film and 8 minutes of it is candid shots. Yeah. Whereas for the Instagram, it's like here's a 4-minute film and 3 minutes of it's couples and like nice looking stuff.
Definitely, yes. And just before I went away, I posted it was 2 images. So in like a carousel, I say carousel with 2 photos of a bridesmaid reaction to seeing her friend in her dress. So they were kind of helping getting ready, and they were two really lovely a really lovely moment between sort of a best friend, you know, on their wedding day. I posted it. You know, kind of nice little caption. Again, a black and white frame and a colour frame of this kind of moment. And it got somewhere in the region of like 50-ish likes, which is still decent. But then the sunset that I posted before that and the confetti photo that I posted the other side of it both exceeded 100 in far less time than that one really floundered. Where if you'd asked me which photo I was more proud of or which one has more meaning,
definitely
it's the lovely moment between the couple. And when I sell my services, that's what I sell. Or if you ask me what are my favourite wedding photos, they're probably not the confetti moment. It's the shot with me with my nan who's not here anymore. Or it's a cool little interaction between. It's those real kind of tender family moments, which are the most important to me.
And that's the thing that the couple is going to appreciate the most. Like 90% of the couples I reckon appreciate that stuff much more than they appreciate the sunset.
And I always kind of want to be a person of integrity and be like, this is what I make, this is what I think.
This is the only thing I'm posting.
But you do find in the end that you do end up just kind of having to kind of sell your soul a little bit.
You need to make money.
And you know that stuff sells.
Yeah.
And if you get a golden sunset, it doesn't matter if you've had 2 others this year that are kind of similar, that they're still gonna hit the big likes. And anybody that says that they don't kind of enjoy what their work getting liked, or kind of, you know, whether you kind of hold loads of value in that, like I'm fully aware that likes on Instagram don't pay my bills, but I still want to be seen. And if the confetti moments and the sunsets and the fireworks get more views than me showing grandma's hand clutching a bride's shoulder during a speech, then I'm probably going to end up sharing it. And I almost want to be a martyr and and intentionally show lots more of those moments, so that I'm not responsible for just
normalise it, isn't it?
It's very much normalising that. But you've got to be aware that at the moment, probably 25-ish% of my bookings come from Instagram. And so in order for someone to log on to Instagram and go, oh, that's our venue, oh, that looks amazing, we want that, we'll get in contact with that guy. They maybe not when you show a frame that could be taken absolutely anywhere.
And I feel like when people are looking at your work and trying to figure out whether it's right for them, if you've got on there a moment which is only really going to make sense to the couple that you photograph, they're going to look at it and be like, what's this of? Like, what's happening here? Why is it just someone fluffing a dress or whatever? Like it doesn't make sense in the context of just a square on Instagram.
And that was probably one of the biggest things, because I did get a little bit angry about this, maybe more than I should have done. And I did put a couple of stories up and said, you know, that why is this the case? And
I love seeing a different side to you.
I had quite a lot of messages, some from photographers and some from previous clients of mine, and some from even people that are friends. And more or less said, you know, when you shot our wedding, I love these photos, the moment ones, but they only mean something to me because that is my best friend, or that is my nan. When you look at her from a stranger, she's just an old lady clutching my shoulder. It doesn't mean anything to them. It only means something to the person that you've shot it for. So stuff like a sunset can be enjoyed by everyone. And I guess we can link it back to our argument about you with the Grand Canyon a minute ago, where if you take a beautiful photo of the Grand Canyon, somebody else can appreciate that as a cool photo of the Grand Canyon. Where
if I was in it.
If there was you and Kate doing your selfie with the Grand Canyon, that means something to you and Kate because you're there.
Yeah.
You're invested in that moment where if you post that on Instagram to a wider audience, the less people know you guys, it doesn't mean as much to them, does it? So
whereas a lovely sunset photo, they're probably looking at that like, that's my venue, that's a good sunset, I can picture myself in that position.
Yeah, you're almost, because you're not in it, you can allow yourself to kind of to insert yourself into the frame kind of vicariously. But when you spell that out for somebody and put you in it, as much as people, unless if they know you can be pleased for you or like it because it's you, it can also detract from.
Yeah.
And it is really hard because I always want to try and, I sell my business on offering natural or authentic moments
stuff,
and really pride myself that probably if I was to enter awards or you to ask me if the images that I'm most proud of that I've made for people, I would probably always dig into those really tender family frames. I photograph a lot of hands in my work, a lot of kind of body language stuff. But it wouldn't be the stuff that would be the most kind of widely liked. Yeah,
I love that, the really close like hand shots of just like one hand on top of another, like
comforting
so somebody or
it's
those
really,
little bits.
Really powerful. Yeah. But again, only when you know, oh, that's grandma's hand or
and that's that
whoever.
I think context is a big part of it, but I also just think like what sells now is just making life look unrealistic, isn't it? That's just what it is.
Sadly, I think that's true. And we were saying as well off camera before we started this is that and me letting Max out the garden. That the weather this year has made to try and people that book summer weddings expect sunshine. And anyone who tells you, oh, I don't mind if it rains when they've booked a wedding in the middle of July is an absolute lie. I'm sorry, that's it. Like they tell themselves to make themselves feel better because they got a wet day. But if you pay a summer premium for a wedding, you expect that summer weather. And I feel like I've been pretty lucky this year that I've only had probably a handful of wet days where I saw something on Instagram, I think it was yesterday, of someone that obviously shoots a lot less than I do and said they shot 18 weddings this summer and 15 of them have rained.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I think, what was it, the last time we recorded, I said half?
I think you did about 50%,
Yeah, half had rained. I think that's probably about right, actually. If I'm on like somewhere between 30 and 35 is what I've had this year, and I think half.
Yeah, and so when you're looking to try and build market material and get those big kind of wow dramatic sun moments, it can be really hard when you can only deal with what you've given. And in some ways it's nicer because those tender family moments will be there rain or shine. They'll be there whatever venue you're in, so you can make your client happy. But when you are looking for marketing material, and let's be honest about it, that's what, as much as you make those images for your couples, when you get that lovely golden sunset and you get the real kind of portfolio couple, there's still a part of you in your mind going, that's my campaign for the winter done.
I feel like I really want to post, like when I go through the footage after a wedding day, I notice like certain moments, I'm like, that's a really cool moment, I love that. And then I think about how I'm going to post it, and I'm like, can I make it vertical? Probably not. If I post it landscape, it's not going to get very many likes because vertical content gets much better reach and stuff like that. And then it's like, do I have to put some into a reel and make it into a nice little edit? And by the time I've thought of all that, I'm like, I can't be asked to post this
too much effort
shot anymore. It's too much effort. Yeah,
which is a real shame. And I think I do really wrestle with the integrity over that, because I always try and market myself or show up to my couples as the most authentic version of me, which is why I try and inject so much personality in my stories, so that people really feel that they do get to know me as a person, or feel that I'm not being kind of superficial or pretentious in any of the way that I photograph them. But it's really hard to not get sucked into that. And and all the people that messaged me as well when I posted that couple to go, oh yeah, we really love those photos too, but they only love the ones that I made for them,
because
it's kind of coming to peace with that, to go, okay, you need to keep posting this. And I still find it really bizarre is that when you have Zoom calls with couples or you chat to couples, that's what they want. They want those moments with their family, but they contacted you because they saw your confetti photo or they saw your thing. So it's almost like this weird kind of like double kind of thing. Anyways, they've definitely drunk the Kool-Aid on the sunset, but then once they've actually dug into your work, it's those family moments which have kind of really driven them or cemented their decision that you're the person to document their day.
Yeah, I think what you said about digging in, that's important. Like, they have to go past the Instagram. Like, once they then hop onto the portfolio or go onto your website, that's where the big differences lie. And I know that when a couple inquires to me and they say, we've got this person as a photographer, first thing I'll do is go on their website, and I will probably judge them and their style by that big banner photo that appears at the top. And most of the time it's a couple shoot, but sometimes you'll see like the big spread banner is like a crazy dance move that a guest is doing, and I'm like, I already know I'm going to like this person and like the way that they're shooting, because I know that they've chosen to show that photo as like their top main photo.
Definitely. And I think that's something I was, again, like we were talking at the start of the episode about wanting to change up those images this year and really refresh that. And someone sold it to me, and I can't remember who it was, because I wish I could, so I could thank them, is that I've always very much seen that if I owned a physical shop, like if I had like an actual studio, is that my Instagram grid would be the window space, and essentially on Instagram you're visual merchandising, you're making that, you're having that hot looking mannequin in there with the best clothes on to physically get people through the door,
people in, and that's
all that Instagram needs to be for me, is to physically wow people enough and dangle enough shiny things in front of them to get them to come into my physical space, and then once they step through that, that kind of shiny front window of my store, of my Instagram window, they step onto my website, and that is the bricks and mortar within my shop. I've lured them in, if you like, with the kind of the shiny stuff from Instagram.
Agreed.
And then once you get to the website, you can afford then to start to dig in and show some more of a much more rounded perception of what you do actually create on a wedding day. And I think you need to give people an honest expectation of what you're going to make for them.
Yeah.
But at that point, you've lured them in. You've done the hard work in that you've kind of attracted them with the shiny things that you can afford to show them. They don't need to be wowed as much. They need to kind of, they're coming to you with a much more honest expectation then.
Yeah.
And in my head, I've always visualised it that way, as Instagram is shop window, website is shop. That's where they come in and they get the brochure. That's where they find out about the pricing. They find out about the nitty gritty by talking to the guy in the shop, or, picking up the brochure off the shelf, or reading the price tags on stuff.
And it's much less about, when you go on your website, it's much less about what your stuff looks like and more about like yourself, basically. Like, who are you? What your price is? What's your what's your approach towards? Whereas Instagram, you like you say, it's just who's good, who does like good looking stuff. Oh, this person, this person. Go to the websites, right? Who am I going to get on with?
Yes.
And then it sort of filters in from there.
And I think it's that thing, is it? Like, nobody stumbles on your website. As much as people say they love to, even with the best SEO in the world, there still has to be, like, your website isn't at the top of the funnel. It's somewhere in the middle. Yeah. They've either been lured in by searching something through Google, or being referred to by another venue, or recommendation, or by finding a cool photo of yours on Instagram. That's all kind of much more at the kind of wider end of the funnel stuff.
Especially now, I feel like SEO, when we first started, Google was like 90% of our bookings, and now it's probably 10, maybe. Even though we're, I think, still first page just about, it's nowhere near as good as it used to be, having just a website at the top of SEO.
Or again, I find that I do still get a healthy amount of inquiries from Google, but sometimes the quality in those Google leads aren't always the same, because they haven't been lured in.
Everything and
they're literally just going through, and again, they're more or less jumping straight into the shop without looking at the window. They're looking under the parameter of, I've googled Hampshire wedding photographer, and just opened 10 tabs.
So
you've appeared. Again, it's like someone's just kind of fallen through the door of your shop.
Is definitely different.
There's no kind of, they've not really gone into that funnel, if that's kind of the marketing term.
Well, I find they're not always as local as well. Like, it'll be someone from somewhere in Essex, or like up north or something. Like, I've just found you on Google, because I feel like on Instagram, because certain ththings target certain people, it often ends up being sort of closer. I quite like doing weddings elsewhere, personally. I looked through I'm sort of targeting Hampshire wedding videography normally when I'm trying to do SEO stuff, but I looked for our weddings this year, and I don't think we've shot in Hampshire more than a couple of times.
Mad, isn't it?
Because we just shoot everywhere else, and I prefer that, to be honest. So.
I find mine's probably been about a 50-50 split. Like, my kind of H1 and priority is still Hampshire wedding photographer, but then I've probably done as many weddings in West and East Sussex, because we're so close where we are to that border. If I go and shoot, say, a wedding at somewhere like Southend Barnes, which is a West Sussex venue, I shot there a handful of times this year, and it's probably now one of my most frequented venues, but it's not a Hampshire venue.
But I feel like if you see it as like a heat map, I feel like you're very concentrated on like Portsmouth and West Sussex and East Hampshire, like literally like there, right? Whereas if you look at ours, it's like, it sort of starts around Hampshire and just spreads out from there. Like, I feel like we do a little bit more variety in terms of the distances, but you're very much like, if someone's getting married at like Square Tower, they're going to be there, basically.
And I would go if someone came further, but I must admit, since the pandemic, I have I have honed it that way. I've reined the mileage in my packages a little bit,
Yeah.
only because I want to stay longer and give more. And I think part of me was like, if I was in Kent for the night and knew I had like a 2.5 hour drive home, there would still be a part of me that's thinking, I want to get on the road soon.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like there's value for you being known for being that. If someone's looking for a photographer in the area, you are going to pop up
it
because
has its ups and downsides. It's lovely to come across as a trusted and experienced person at your venue, but at the same time, sometimes I do find that if you probably looked through your venue list of the year, say if you've done 30 weddings, they might be in 20 different venues, where my 30 weddings might be in 7.
Yeah.
So I do find that I frequent the same places more than maybe sometimes I would like.
Yeah.
But
however, so coming to like the end of the season, we're obviously thinking about next year. How has bookings been for next year?
I feel like it's been a roller coaster this year.
Yeah.
Like I feel like things have come in absolute waves. Like it's not been kind of that steady kind of build of bookings.
Summer was a drought, wasn't it?
It was.
In terms of bookings.
Literally, I kind of feel like I think I looked the other day that by the end of May, I already had kind of well into the teens bookings for next year.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And then I more or less had 8-10 weeks where I booked maybe one wedding and really doubted kind of whether I was going to get any more bookings for the year. And then kind of we got through to the end of August, and then September and the beginning of this month have just been an absolute wave again.
Yeah.
And I'm almost at the point now where I'm thinking, well, I don't really want to take any more because I want to leave a portion of the availability that I've got left for those kind of good short notice weddings that come in. Or I know that January is going to be a raft again of inquiries.
Yeah.
And I don't either want to overbook or be turning people away from good weddings because I've jumped on weddings too early.
Yeah.
So I think I'm sat here at the moment mindful of every inquiry that does come through my website. I'm probably looking over it a little bit harder going, okay, is that a gap that I'm willing, you know, am I going to take, I'd earmark that weekend as a weekend off. Or have I got one afterwards? How near is that one? Where before it'd be, okay, I need the wedding. That's nice, I take it. I'm probably almost kind of trying to find fault or making sure that where I'm sat here with probably only 7 or 8 spaces that I'd want to fill before I could kind of cast myself as being fully booked.
Yeah.
I really want to make sure that I kind of only take on the ones which I know are definitely going to be kind of, or as much as you can tell that they're going to be good bookings.
Yeah. I always say that if you're going into a year more than 2/3 booked, then you're probably too cheap. But I mean, we are going into the year 1/2 booked, so I can't say anything. But I do think that is because you're going to get in January, you're going to get that wave. Yes. Then you're going to get some last minute ones, and if you're going into the year not having that flexibility to take some really cool ones, let's say you get like a last minute destination, but you've just booked a local venue that you don't like because you were worried about not getting bookings, you're going to be gutted.
You are, yeah.
So I feel like going into the year 2/3 booked is a really good like middle point.
But I think as well, like you said though, is you did a price increase or what you would call a significant price increase in kind of the Easter time of this year, didn't you? So in some ways that rule of kind of, if I'm too cheap, it almost seems that, can I put my price up again? Do you know what I mean? Like, can I jump twice in a year?
Because I did that.
Because it seems that you shouldn't be able to because of the volume. But then everything's telling you that that's what you should be doing because of the volume that's coming through the door.
That's it. Go with
But
the
then
stats.
you'll think, well, I could be shooting some of my weddings next year, which are I could have weddings that are more or less twice in financial money what the early ones that booked me are. And it doesn't seem right, which again, I guess either means that you were either way too cheap to begin with and you only kind of caught up with where you should have been, or next year I think is maybe going to be one of those kind of more bumper years of weddings, and so it's seeing how you sustain
wanting
that.
to spend a little bit. And I mean, like it's exactly what you just said. Like we did what we would call a significant price increase. Then we had a couple of bookings at that price and had that weird drought. But now things are coming in and rolling in sort of like they normally would, almost like it's normal again. And we're getting bookings and we're very quickly booking up for next year, thinking, do we need to raise our prices again? But I already think I'm quite expensive. Like I'm not expensive compared to other videographers, but in my head that's a lot of money still. And I'm thinking, can I really do that again? But I know looking at the stats, I'm getting too many inquiries and bookings to what I need, basically.
But I think as well though, is if you look at the quality of the work this year, I feel that you've really kind of, you're a good few years in now, and I feel like hopefully that I've done the same, is that I'm a kind of quite a nice point at the moment where I'd never want to feel complacent that I kind of go, I know everything. I'm definitely not there. Definitely. But I'm at a point where I'm like, no, I am experienced. I do know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
There's people coming into this industry which are only probably a couple of £100 light of where I was before my price increase. And I know that I offer so much more value than those guys. So it's kind of finding that I feel like I've really rounded my experience out this year. And maybe by doing this podcast as well, kind of when, the feedback we've had from that is that maybe we are imparting wisdom to people that hadn't considered that before. So that means it's like, maybe I know more than I think I do.
Yeah.
And I feel that you're kind of the production level of the work that you produce. You've been a lot more aware of your ability this year, and that's been reflected in the films that you've made.
Yeah.
Or you've really settled on that kind of client that you want to.
That's what it is, I think, is settling on something that is a good middle ground. Like we've tried, you still try everything, don't you? And then go in, and then you find your path. And I feel like this year is like really where we found our path, like, and where we want to be. And that really comes across in, so every couple, we do a pre-booking call with every couple, and we say to them, you don't have to blow our trumpet, but tell us why you stopped. You've obviously gone through Google or gone through lots of videographers. We know people shop around. Why did you stop on us and book a call with us? And 99% of the time they say, because we looked around, we found a lot of like too much setup stuff, but your stuff was really fun and really candid. And I'm like, wow, that is literally our brand. Like fun and candid, right?
Which shows that you're doing your job and what you're marketing. And
that's such a like good feeling when someone just recites your brand to you and says like that's what I saw in your films. I didn't see anyone else. So I feel like we've really found our
and
spot.
I found that, I think, particularly as well this year, is that it's been more of a battle to stay in your lane this year. I feel like there's been a real seismic shift, particularly in that kind of mid to upper market level of the wedding industry, where I feel like a lot of people before that were doing that kind of good classic candid nice rich grade, is that so many more people are flocking toward that super editorial, super blurry, super washed out, and people before which had really established brands are even starting to kind of waft their way in that direction. And I know we've had discussions about this on previous episodes where it's been, well, do I have to go that way in order to be able to charge more,
to
or
be relevant,
to have a market? And I must admit, I've found it really hard to kind of go, no, but the people that have booked you for this. And there are always going to be people out there that still want this. And if you don't want to make that, you don't have to. And I've found it harder than ever to kind of this year to kind of go, no, you do know what you're doing. Just stay in your lane. Don't get tempted in by the shiny stuff on Instagram. Just keep making what you make, and there will always be people that don't want that.
Yeah, it's really important to look at context as well. Like you're saying that, but then those, again, looking at Instagram, those editorial shots always make it to Instagram and the blurry stuff. But then how's the couple feeling about how many candidates they got and how much value are they putting in that blurry shot of the bridesmaids and the groomsmen walking past while the bride and groom are kissing or whatever, all blurry and slow shutter. Like the stuff that you make still very much appeals to the couples that you want to appeal to. And I think that's the main thing, isn't it? Like I look at other videographers and I'm like, your framing is so good, and like you don't do as much movement as me, but it still looks good, and your storytelling is good. But I realise there's not as many candidates, and I'm like, okay, that's how I do my thing then, sort of thing. And you separate yourself, don't you?
And I think it's realising, isn't it, quite early on, is that yes, you can grow, yes, you can get better, but you still can't be everything to everybody. And it's really finding that groove of what people want plus what you want to put out, and there's that kind of middle of the Venn diagram where you have exactly the wedding that you want to photograph, and then realising that you only need to find, say, 30 couples a year that want that wedding, and kind of making sure that you magnetise in somewhere that then you end up with enough bookings of the weddings that you want and the couples that want that, rather than going, oh, I need to chase a trend, thinking that there's kind of that's what everybody wants, but then also realising that the amount of other people fishing for those weddings is much more because they've chased the trend as well.
Very true, and that comes full circle to what I think, like the first couple episodes when we were talking about like how to get the couples that you want. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Style, trying to figure out who you are, like your experience. I feel like, and we've spoken about this before, but your experience is also what separates you. Is that you've done enough weddings, you can step in when needed and advise on things. You know not to walk into a prep room, get your camera out and just start whacking it in people's faces. all of those, and also you do a very quick couple shoot in order to make sure that.
I feel it almost annoys you. How quick my couple shoot is.
It's not. It's too quick for me. But
yeah.
When you do, I imagine when you do weddings on your own and without a videographer or whatever, and you do that couple shoot, that couple is getting the maximum out of their reception drink time because you're not dragging them off everywhere trying to get your perfect editorial shot.
And that I think is, again, like we were talking with the Instagram thing, is something which I'm very mindful of, or from my own experience of, like we were talking about, again, we'll go back to you and Kate at the Grand Canyon, is that I don't have lots of photos of me on my walls.
Yeah.
I value the photos that I have of me, but I don't display them or need many. It's a quality over quantity thing. I would rather take a couple away for 10 minutes and get, say, a good dozen or 15 solid couple
really
shots of them. They have one to change to the lock screen on their phone. They might have one that they put in a small frame on their nightstand.
Yeah.
And that's it. Do you really need hundreds of photos of the two of you?
And it doesn't trigger me at all. I find it funny, but it's just like when we were on the shoot together.
Do you mean,
and you were like, after the sunset shoot, you were like, oh yeah, you really like directed that, milked that, didn't you? And I was like, for me, that's not milking it, but I like the way that you get that done, and because for you, it's more about experience and candid.
Yeah.
And if you sit there and say you're a candid photographer and spend an hour doing a couple shoot, you're not. Yeah.
And also, it's a sentence which is on the bottom of my approach page on my website, and I stand by it now, is your experience is everything.
Yeah.
Like, I look at a photo, the reason that I take a photo is to look at it and it reminds me of a moment.
Yeah.
And if you've taken someone away from an hour, it could be the most like perfectly laid out dress, the most beautiful golden sunset in the world, but if they're dying for a week because they've been out for an hour and they've just missed all their evening guests arrive, that's what they will remember when they look at that photo. They won't remember that lovely walk down a lane and watch the sunset on their wedding day.
Yeah.
They won't remember that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's, or I wouldn't anyway, I would remember do you remember how awkward it was that I had to dip so far into that kiss that I almost fell over? It's that sort of stuff. So it's kind of having that, yes, that photo should be beautiful. Yes, it should be at the right time of day and the rest of it, but it should never hamper your experience.
Yeah.
Is that when you get back to your guest on the dance floor, they go, where you been for the last hour then?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we've come to celebrate with you and we haven't because you've been off having a photo taken. Yeah. And that's kind of, it's that feeling is always much more of a bigger driving force on the day for me.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm lazy and I don't want to take them out for 10 minutes.
No, that feeling is so important to what,
yeah. And I think if you probably looked at the reviews that I get back from my couples, none of them probably say that I took lovely photos.
Because it's
not because I didn't. Hopefully it's because they expect me to.
They're happy
because it's my job. Do you know what I mean? Like they expect me to be a good photographer. They've paid me a lot of money to take photos of them. So if I took rubbish ones, then there would be a problem.
Yeah, but it's what people remember and what separates you from others. So they'll be like, the photos are good, but also he was really funny. He got the group shots done. Allowed us to have time with our guests.
That's it. We felt so comfortable around him. Another one, he was so helpful.
Yeah.
Like he did my dad's buttonhole in the morning. Took my veil out because my bridesmaid couldn't. It's all those other things that you can do which add value. Whilst you're there, people expect you to be a good photographer. And I think it's that kind of that drive for me. That's kind of the bigger voice in my head when I'm photographing, rather than, this light's amazing. Let's really squeeze everything out.
I do believe that's what separates you. I mean, your photos are great, but you do really have a connection with your couple. It's obvious. So.
Yeah, and I think even like that kind of a full circle moment that we're coming up to, kind of just over an hour in, I think it's all of those things as well, which mean that the going on the holiday, the taking, the rest, the being, all that stuff, it all adds to who you are.
Yeah.
Like, how can you go and meet interesting people that do interesting things if you are a boring person that do nothing other than sit in your house or sit in front of your desk and edit photos? Mm-hmm. Like, I know that probably one of the things that I bond with most of my couples are shared life experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
When I put up, I'm going to New York for the week, the amount of people go, we went there, we did this. And I'm sure you did the same when you went to Vegas. You speak to those couples about, where you going on a honeymoon? It's this. And, and travel becomes a big part. And if they're kind of people which have a lust for adventure and stuff in the same way that you do, they're going to want to bring that level of adventure and fun to their wedding, which is where you line up. And I'm sure, again, they'll still be mildly annoyed when you've gone on 2 holidays in a month and their tracker hasn't moved. But at the same time, if that allowed you to be the person that you were on their wedding, they'll remember that for far longer than waiting for 2 weeks for their wedding photos. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think, and that actually, to be fair, has been Because when I first started wedding videography, I didn't have a lot of life experience. I was been to uni and that, but I hadn't travelled much or done much, and I was a lot quieter then and didn't really know what couples I was enjoying and stuff. But now, like, I mean, I'm 30, comfortable in what I do and things like that, a lot more adventurous and things. I feel like, yeah, we're getting the couples that are very similar to us. Like, they go into amazing places. They're doing, like, their sort of focus is the same as ours, if you know what I mean, and things like that. So I think, yeah.
And I think they're still respectful enough, is that this is your job, you have a good job, and that you know, it makes you successful enough to be able to go to those places. And because you're maybe charged that little bit more for your wedding now, those people have good jobs, do you know what I mean, and earn good money, and so they value their life experiences and their travels in the same, or their time off in the same way that you do, and they don't feel bad for, you know, if you were still, if you just come back from Dubai and Vegas and then you went and shot a wedding for £1,200 and that couple are going to Butlins for their honeymoon, they might be marginally more resentful that they waited for their film because you're off living the high life in their terms. For when you've got your couple that just come back from 10 days in the Maldives, they go, good on you, mate, how was it? Oh, how'd you travel? Because you're almost a little bit more on a level to them, and they kind of see you as more of a peer, and because you share similar experiences, they're more your people, which is why you come out your shelf more with them, because they're more like you.
It's not looking at you like, oh, you're doing all this and that on our money that we've paid you. It's not like that, because like you say, they've just come back from a lovely honeymoon so
themselves. They kind of, you feel that everything kind of aligns a lot more.
Definitely had similar situations to that before, but yeah, like-minded people. I think that's the main thing. That's the takeaway from that. And talking about like-minded people, did you want to talk about the CoActive?
Oh yes, we should probably talk about that actually. Even though here we are in October, I don't. It might be the first time that we do mention that the C word on the caption code, which is Christmas. And so obviously, I run a networking space with another photographer called Katie, and we have launched for the first time a Christmas event. So on Tuesday the 12th of December,
I'm so excited.
We are hosting a Christmas party. So for all of you kind of wedding-y working people that don't normally get a worked Christmas party, we are offering an olive branch, or a holly branch maybe, I guess it would be much more seasonal, to that we are hosting a Christmas party, and we'll drop a link for it in the descriptions on wherever you're listening to this or watching this, so you can get a ticket. But basically it's going to be full of other wedding suppliers, and we are going to have a big Christmas party at the Square Tower in Portsmouth. So if you're someone that likes to celebrate Christmas but doesn't often get the opportunity with people, then that's for you.
That's such a big deal as well, I think, because this is, again, we've spoken about it, it's mostly such an individual job. And before you guys started the CoActive, there was nothing for people to meet up with wedding suppliers and things like that. It really wasn't that popular of a thing. Maybe if you're recommended at a venue, they might do something once a year, something small, or if you're a part of a wedding group or something full of suppliers. There's just nothing like the CoActive, and I feel like that's been a huge deal in getting people more social. I've met people from it. I met Josh through you, who now we're really close friends, and and then having a Christmas party on top of that. Because one thing is, Kate always gets a Christmas party because she works for the uni, and I always go along to her Christmas party of her friends and that, and I'm like, but you never get to meet the people that I work with.
The same, and obviously, and all of us spend a lot of times facilitating or working at other people's parties, celebrations, and the rest of it. And you still have kind of a shuff on the dance floor, maybe get a drink, but you're still at work. So to be able to go to a party when not having to worry about taking photos or filming something, and literally just being with a bunch of other people that get it, and just the sole purpose is to have fun. It should be good. It's on a Tuesday night as well, so if you are still shooting winter weddings, it shouldn't happen with any of those. The bar's really reasonable. It's really well connected travel wise, so if you want to get a train down to us, or you want to stay overnight and stuff like that, there's those options for that. So it should be a really good one.
I'm really looking forward to it. Amazing.
It should be good. I feel like we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
It's been a catch up and a half,
mega
isn't
catch
it?
Up,
But no, it's been really good. I feel on a personal level that we've caught up really well. Hopefully there's been some use in there, and I feel with the breadth of topics that we've covered in quite a short amount of time is just
smashed
decent.
Through a load of topics, but I'm sure we'll bring some of it back up in future episodes. But we just wanted to talk about what's been on our mind, I guess. It's been 6 weeks since we've really properly spoken. We speak over chat and stuff, but
to be in the same room and actually
catch up. So
it's been a proper brain dump episode.
Brain dump. That's it.
And then kind of next time again, I mentioned the Christmas word a minute ago. Next week we're going to be talking, or next week in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be doing an episode about readying yourself for winter weddings. We've talked about summer weddings at length and sunsets and evenings and stuff. And so now that we're kind of getting into that darker, colder time of the year, I feel that you know, we've both said that already we're starting to shoot the weddings that we have at this time of the year slightly differently to you would a summer wedding.
Very different approach.
I think we should dig into that and maybe offer some tips and tricks that we do for shooting those weddings
100%.
in the colder, I'll say wetter, but I don't think it get much wetter than the summer this year.
No, I mean, I did
6
months of weddings between October and March, and not a single one of them wasn't raining. So it depends on the sort of winter you get. But I mean, right now it's October and it's bloody lovely outside. It's a bit cold, but it's like really
winter
nice.
weddings,
It matches sunbathing. It's gonna be the same as what we said for the summer ones.
Pretty much. But so that'll be the next week's episode. But yeah, thanks for joining for us. If you've made it this far through our ramblings and catch up, and you know, it's always grateful to have you here. And if you've got any topics that you want us to cover in these episodes, you know, please do chuck it in the comments, so we can get to those.
Sweet. Meal deal time. Peace
See,
out.
it's gonna be done.
Thanks for watching.
See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Yes.